Throughout my travels, I met several slaves who had spent years in sexual enslavement and ultimately became allies of the exploiters and slave owners. These slaves were dressed in the finest clothes, given pocketfuls of money, and sent back to their home regions and promised commissions for each new slave they recruited. Step 2 is movement. Trafficked sex slaves are moved from countries of origin through transit countries into destination countries. In the case of internal trafficking, the same country acts as origin, transit, and destination. This movement is achieved by means of almost any conveyance imaginable. I met victims who were transported by car, bus, train, plane, speedboat, ferry, raft, and foot. Bribes are paid to border guards, and false passports and documents are used to transport individuals almost anywhere in the world. The macro movement of sex slaves involves transit from poorer areas or regions or countries to richer areas, regions, or countries. In this picture taken here in a village near the Thai-Burmese border, you can see how dense vegetation makes it easy to pass from one country into the other. I took numerous photos just like this at several border regions around the world, demonstrating how difficult it is to stop movement. In this picture here, you can see Vlora Harbor in Albania, from where Inez was trafficked to Italy. Prior to a police operation called Operation Puna in 2002, several speedboats filled with slaves made the 2 to 3 hour journey to Italy each day in broad daylight. After 2002, trafficking from Vlora Harbor was supposed to stop, though several locals told me the harbor was still used in the dead of night to traffic individuals to Italy, something I verified conducting my own stakeouts at night at this harbor. Finally, step 3 is exploitation. Exploitation of a trafficked sex slave primarily indicates the violent coercion of unpaid sex services, though in essence, exploitation begins the moment the slave is acquired. Slaves are raped, tortured, starved, humiliated, and drugged during transportation. Breaking the spirits of slaves continues once the slave is sold. In Falkland Road, which is where this photo was taken, in Bombay, a former sex slave named Malaika told me that minors were mercilessly abused when they first arrived, and that they were given opium so that they would have sex with adult grown men. If they misbehaved, arms were broken. If they tried to escape, they might have their throat cut in front of other slaves, providing a visceral lesson in the fate that awaited them should they try to escape. Trafficked sex slaves are exploited in 6 primary types of venue, and I tracked down some or all in every country I visited. The first is brothels, such as the bungalow brothel here in Bombay, which could possess up to 200 or 300 prostitutes, up to half of whom might be minors and slaves. Brothels in Thailand typically hold between 20 and 50 slaves, each awaiting selection behind a pane of glass in a room called an aquarium. Club brothels or sex clubs are found primarily in Europe and Asia, such as the one here in Kathmandu, where there are more than 400 men's clubs, the majority of which sell sex with young Nepalese girls. Massage parlors are often used as front organizations for prostitution. In the parlors I visited, I was typically led to a back room or up a flight of stairs where young girls were offered. In the parlor pictured here in Chiang Rai, Thailand, I was taken up a flight of stairs to a locked room. The woman in the blue sweater took me up, where the female children were told to disrobe to entice selection. When I turned to leave, the manager offered me her best hard sell, 2 children for the price of 1. Apartment brothels are also commonly used, including here in the United States. The complex pictured here is in Chisinau, Moldova, where a young woman named Ludmila was locked inside an apartment and forced to have sex under threat of torture and starvation.